Welcome to M&A Advisor TV. We are here with Corey Massella. He is Managing Director at UHY Advisors. Thanks so much, Corey, for coming in.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you led our panel earlier, one of our moderators of many different people who have coverage of many different sectors.
Yes, and they were excellent, and you're only as good as your panelists on the panel.
Well,
So, yes.
I'm sure you were very good, and they were very good too.
Yes.
But think about for us some of the sectors that you are focused on. You mentioned that you were an M&A expert, but things that you have top of mind for this month.
Well, I would say that, look, our panel was very focused because we had two leaders, two private equity groups that were very focused on manufacturing and industrial. Mm-hmm. And, one of their topics is that in the second half of this year that it's starting to slow down, and that was an indicator to everybody. And actually, we're experiencing it on a sell side advisory side, where there's been some pushback from the private equity group that's purchasing them because of risk factors and somewhat of a downturn in that industry. So they're negotiating to push a little bit more into an earn-out factor into the future. So I'm experiencing the same thing in that sector. Other sectors, it's a different story. Some professional services sectors are somewhat, the multiples have stabilized and slowed down, and that would be we're seeing that in the staffing industry.
Okay.
Technology is not slowing down. Technology is still at
breakneck speed.
Breakneck speed, but that is more. I wouldn't say it's private equity driven. It's more strategics are out there and looking for good companies that are good add-ons, and that's still hot if you're in the right space and you have a good growth factor and good platform. So
it sounds like a mix, of the sectors. I mean, and it kind of belies this underlying question of, are we headed into a recession or not? And it sounds like you have certain data on the manufacturing side that perhaps we are. You have certain data on the technology side that, nope, we are just fine.
Yes.
So how do you manage those different sectors? Do you kind of pivot towards where the deals are, or are you trying to think about future where, there might be some deals partly because there might be a recession?
It's a really good question. I would say in terms of, we're a tool in the toolbox for those that hire us as advisors, mm-hmm. right? Sometimes sectors we get driven into sectors that we've never touched before because of our skill sets in making deals happen and advise and bringing it home to fruition or educating the clients that are going to be out there that are going to come to market so that there aren't issues later for those that are looking to purchase them. So, are we driven by sectors? Sometimes the sectors just come to us. Are there certain sectors that are a constant? Well, it depends upon the region too, because we're a national firm. Real estate, kind of flat. But financial services still percolating. But as I said, the technology is really hot. Healthcare is very hot. Mm-hmm. Actually, healthcare has been really hot the last 2 or 3 years. So that has been a hot sector that we are continuing to see a lot of activity. So it depends upon the sectors that are hot where people need our skill sets.
Well, and thinking about healthcare, let's stay on that topic just for a moment here. Is healthcare the reason that you're seeing such a sustained push there? Is that because the industry is going through shifts and changes, or is it partly because of where you might see us in the economy and the overarching cycle?
I would say that it's an industry with, again, a lot of regulation, and the regulation kind of drives part of it in the profitability and the margins being squeezed from the top down, meaning the government. And by that happening, it depends upon where in the industry is opportunistic to make the margins to make more money, like, dentistry. Dentistry has been in a full consolidation lately. There's multiple groups that are out there bringing it to the market and giving opportunities, and they're shifting to the basic dentistry, general dentistry, to trying to get some more cosmetic work where the margins are higher, and technology has helped to bring the general dentistry to a little more profitability. But then you take optometry. That's another area that has really started to consolidate. And you keep moving down the sectors. You've got, you got the assisted living, but now people are concerned there's a saturation there. So that's going to be scaling back a little bit, but there was so much in the pipeline happening that it didn't slow down. Yeah. So I think in healthcare, it's driven from the, the market pressures and where it comes from, and sometimes you don't control it. Yeah. But it's great opportunities. There's a lot to be made in that sector right now. And then the last part, in the healthcare sector, you've got the technology aspect.
I was going to say, because earlier we talked about some technology pieces, so it seems like both feed each other. I mean, you're mentioning all these sub-industries of healthcare that have been affected, and the margin's been improved by technology.
Right, and then you go into the medical billing side, and in medical billing side, it's starting to squeeze, and those who have better technological platforms, it's starting to, come out of that. And then there are those that, and then we can go into life sciences. And life sciences is another sector that has, again, been very hot. And a lot of money's been deployed there.
Well, and bringing it up just a notch, I guess, thinking about more of these sectors overall that we talked about earlier, when you look into 2020, because I'm going to ask you for some predictions here, what do you think, Corey? Is it something that the same sectors will be hot, or do you see some others emergent?
Look, I think that just a personal opinion. A personal opinion is it would be great to flush and get the downturn over with.
Yeah.
But
how so?
Because it's a natural economic cycle that has to happen. Going back to the finance days, but you haven't seen it. It has to happen, and it's got the uncertainty out there. That
so it would take away that uncertainty.
It would take away the uncertainty, and everybody would move on. However, you've got a political year coming up, and someone was mentioning that during political years, there usually isn't a downturn. Look at the stock market right now. When this is published, it may be down for all we know, but we're breaking highs. Right. And meanwhile, industries are stabilizing and there's nothing moving up. So I think that, I've heard that the financial services sector is slowing down, and that may start to come down a little bit. We mentioned manufacturers, industrials, that will start to come down. And retail, we all know, is struggling unless you got the big distribution stores out there. So from there, technology, you can't tell because it's moving fast, and the ability to do things that you weren't able to do before is just accelerating, and it'll always be going up and down because there's those that will make it and those that won't. The one thing I will say is the whole WeWork situation. And what happened with that was a blessing because, in the public markets, maybe it'll start to, less will come to the markets. That's not going to be something that will be able to ramp back up. Right. I would say that is one thing that I would say will definitely trend into 2020, that it's going to be those that are coming to market will be stronger technological and healthier platforms.
Well, and thinking about that, Corey, because that, maybe we can't predict which sectors will be taking off or slowing down, but some of the terms and conditions, it sounds like, might be of more interest. You mentioned earnouts earlier from the manufacturing side.
Yes.
So is that something that maybe you could be focused on, that you could still bring deals to market, but they would be, with more conditions?
Yeah, I would say, look, there's a lot of dry powder. So there's a lot of money that has to be deployed. There's a lot of aging population that own these private companies, and they're good companies and they're profitable companies with a lot of opportunities out there. I don't think that's going to slow down. I think it's going to be out there. The pressure of those that are purchasing and getting the right valuations and multiples for the purchases down, and getting the general population to understand why it needs to come down, they may push that into the earnouts so that they have the opportunity to earn money and get more at the second bite at the apple, right? So that may come back. At one time that was very popular, and I'm seeing it start to happen again, but there was a long time when you weren't having any earnouts on any deals. So that may be the push into the future that could be happening. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes, but it sounds like a fine enough prediction for me.
That's great. So, yes, so thank you again.
Yes, thank you, Corey, for joining us. Appreciate your time.
All right, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us here at M&A Advisor TV.